Today, we're going to dive deep into a single, really powerful word. It's a word you hear all the time in hospitals, but its true story, its real meaning, actually stretches way beyond medicine. And it forces us to ask a pretty fundamental question.
We all kind of assume that medicine is here to cure us, right? To beat illness. But let's just think about that for a second. If death is, an inevitable part of life, then by that logic, isn't medicine a field that's always ultimately going to fail? That seems a little grim. It must mean that its real purpose is something much, much broader.
And of course it is. Medicine isn't just about writing prescriptions. It's about managing a peaceful, dignified death through hospice care. It's about preventing disease in the first place, with things like public sanitation and hygiene. It's about educating all of us on how to live healthier lives. It even pushes the boundaries of research in fields like cosmetics and aesthetics. The actual scope is just massive.
So, when you look at medicine through this much wider lens, there's one term that really stands out. It's a word that doesn't promise a final, total victory. It promises something else entirely. A kind of temporary relief, a holding pattern. It's a word that is incredibly realistic, but also, let's be honest, a little unsettling. Remission.
So what are we really talking about when doctors use the word remission? Medically speaking, it's a state where the signs and symptoms of a disease have either gotten a lot better or have vanished completely. You see it used a lot for conditions where 100% guaranteed cure is really tough to achieve. So the goal shifts. It becomes about weakening the illness to the point where a person can get back to their daily life without major problems. It can look and feel like a cure, but it's something different. And that difference is key.
In cancer treatment, this distinction becomes absolutely critical. Doctors usually talk about two main types of remission. First, there's complete remission. This is when all the tests, all the scans, every piece of evidence shows no signs of cancer. It sounds like it's gone, right? But even then, doctors are incredibly careful not to call it a cure. Then you have partial remission. This means the cancer has gotten smaller, it's shrunk, but it hasn't disappeared completely.
And to make that idea of partial remission less of a fuzzy concept, there's often a very specific number attached to it. A really common benchmark is when a tumor has decreased in size by at least 30%. This gives doctors and patients a clear, measurable goal to shoot for, especially when getting rid of the tumor completely isn't on the table just yet.
Okay, so that's the medical side. But here's where the story of this word just explodes. Remission doesn't just belong in hospitals. It shows up in courtrooms, in government policies, even in prayer. So how on earth does a word for a shrinking tumor also connect to a shorter prison sentence or forgiving someone's taxes? Let's follow this amazing thread.
So first, we've got the one we're all familiar with now, the medical context. After a tough course of chemotherapy, the cancer goes into remission. A disease gets pushed back. Simple enough. But then we jump over to the legal world. A prisoner can receive a remission of their sentence because of good behavior. So here, it's a punishment, a penalty, that's being reduced or sent away.
It pops up in finance, too. A government might announce a remission of property taxes for people who've been hit by a disaster like a flood. In this case, a financial debt is being forgiven.
Then we have the religious context. People pray for the remission of their sins, asking for a moral debt to be erased, to be wiped clean.
And you'll even hear it in a more general sense. Talking about conflict, you might hear that there was a brief remission in hostilities before the fighting started up again. So, a disease, a prison sentence, a tax debt, a sin, a war. What is the one thing they all have in common?
The secret, the key to this whole puzzle, is to stop thinking of these as totally separate meanings. The hidden connection that brilliantly ties sickness, punishment, and debt all together, it isn't in what the word means today. It's in where it came from, its origin. The word remission comes straight from a Latin verb, remittere, and when you break it down, it's so beautifully simple. You've got re, which means back, and then you have mittere, which means to send. Put them together, and the original meaning is just to send back, to let go, to release. And suddenly it all just clicks into place, doesn't it?
It's all about this powerful, ancient idea of sending something away. The disease is being sent back. The prison sentence is being sent back or released. The debt and the sins are being sent back or let go of. And get this, the English word mission, which we think of as a special job or a duty, it comes from the same root. Its original meaning was simply the act of sending.
But it gets even deeper. This one single Latin root, mittere, is basically the parent of a huge family of English words we use constantly. And once you see this core idea of sending, you're going to start seeing it absolutely everywhere.
Just watch how this works. You just add a little prefix to change the direction of the sending. So, if you send yourself under someone's authority, that's submission. If you send something across a distance, that's a transmission. If you send something out, like smoke from a factory, that's an emission. If you send someone to a place, you grant them admission. That little break they send between the acts of a play, that's an intermission. And if you allow something to be sent through, you're giving permission. It's an entire vocabulary built on one idea.
Okay, so now that we have this incredibly rich backstory, this amazing linguistic context, let's bring it all back home. Let's go back to where we started, the medical meaning of remission.
With this new understanding, we can completely reframe the whole idea. Remission is not a failure. It's not some consolation prize because you couldn't get a cure. It is an active, dynamic, powerful process. It is the literal act of sending back the disease, of pushing it away, of forcing it to retreat and holding it at bay. It's a fight, not a surrender.
So what does this sending back really accomplish? It creates space. It carves out physical and mental space away from the overwhelming symptoms of an illness. It creates space for a patient to just live, to breathe, to feel normal again. And maybe most crucially of all, it creates space for hope. And keeping hope alive is one of the most profound things medicine can do.
Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. What if we've been measuring medicine with the wrong ruler this whole time? What if its greatest gift isn't the promise of a final, absolute victory over every single ailment? What if its true power, its greatest gift, is something more profound? The ongoing power to manage, to push back, and to give patients and their families the invaluable gift of time, space, and hope.